Chapter 21. The United Nations Learning Objectives. Formation of United Nations. Objectives of UN. Main organs of UN. Special agencies of UN. Achievements of UN. India and the United Nations. Let's begin. Mom. A case between citizens of India takes place in High Court or Supreme Court. But what happens if it is a case between citizens of different countries? What happens when two countries fight? Who helps to resolve the issue? Layla, such issues are taken up by an organization called the United Nations. It is a global body which maintains peace and order in the world. Oh, that's interesting. This means we have rules and duties not just for our country but for our planet too. The industrialized and developed nations like Britain, Germany, France, etc. wanted more and more colonies to procure raw materials for industries and develop markets for their finished products. This competition led to constant wars. Many of them formed alliances, and this led to the two world wars that the world had to face. Formation of the United Nations Organization. The world till date has experienced many wars, big and small, but the history of the world is marked with the two most devastating world wars. These wars caused death and destruction to no extent. World War I started in 1914 and lasted for 4 years. Millions of people were killed. As the war ended in 1918, an organization called the League of Nations was formed to maintain world peace. But this League of Nations failed to achieve its goal, and World War II began in 1939. The Second World War caused greater deaths and destruction. Atom bombs were dropped on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan at the end of the war. This resulted in huge loss of lives and complete destruction of several cities of the world. World War II ended in 1945. After the end of this war, all the countries of the world realized that they need to maintain peace and security in the world. Sir Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of UK, and F.D. Roosevelt, the President of USA, met and framed the Atlantic Charter in 1941 at San Francisco. Later, in 1944, USA, UK, and China met at Washington, D.C., and drafted a charter for the new organization. It held a set of guidelines for the organization. The UN Charter was finally framed by the representatives of 50 countries after a 33-day-long meeting at San Francisco. This led to the formation of the United Nations Organization UNO or UN on the 24th of October 1945. Every year this day is celebrated as the UN Day. At the time of formation of UN, 51 countries signed the United Nations Charter. Right now, the UN has 193 member countries. The headquarters of the UN is in New York, USA. Fact frame. The land and the buildings of the UN headquarters are considered to be international territory. They do not belong to any particular country. Symbols and colors of the UN. The symbol of the United Nations is the map of the world as viewed from the North Pole. The map is surrounded by olive branches that signify peace. The color of this symbol is blue. The UN sends its troops for peacemaking in the areas and countries ravaged by war. The UN peacemaking vehicles are always painted white, and peacekeeping forces wear a blue beret or a round flat cap. When the UN soldiers wear the blue UN beret, they do not serve any particular country. They serve only the people of the world. Objectives of the UN. The main function of the UN is to settle disputes or fights between various member countries through discussion and peaceful methods. The other objectives of the UN are as follows: preventing future wars and bringing peace, encouraging a spirit of cooperation among all the nations, solving social and cultural problems, encouraging respect for human rights and support freedom for all the people of the world. Main organs of the UN. There are 6 main organs of the United Nations. The General Assembly. It is the main body of the UN. In the General Assembly, the member countries discuss important matters related to world peace, collect reports, and oversee the budget. The General Assembly elects the members of all the other UN bodies. The meeting is held once a year and decisions are taken through voting. Each member country holds 1 vote. The General Assembly elects a president who presides over its meetings. The Security Council. The Security Council is responsible for maintaining international peace among all its nations. The Council meets wherever there is a threat to peace in the world. Currently, the Security Council has 15 members. Out of the total, 5 are permanent and 10 are temporary. United Kingdom, China, France, Russia, and USA are the permanent members. The temporary members are elected by the General Assembly for a term of 2 years. The permanent members have veto power. This means that if a member uses veto over a particular decision, the decision cannot be made effective. The Secretariat. The Secretariat of UN is responsible to carry out the day-to-day activities and work of the UN. It is led by a Secretary General who is the Chief Administrative Officer. The Secretary General is the point of contact for the Security Council by bringing matters threatening peace to their notice and carrying out their decision. The current Secretary General of UN is Antonio. The International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice settles legal disputes that arise among nations and also gives advice on international laws and legal issues. It is also known as the World Court. It is the main judicial branch of the UN. It is located at The Hague in Netherlands. The court consists of 15 judges elected by the General Assembly and the Security Council for a period of 9 years. The first Indian president of ICJ was Dr. Nagendra Singh from 1985 to 88. The Trusteeship Council. The Trusteeship Council was established in 1945 to help those countries which did not have the right to govern themselves because they were governed by other countries. After the independence of the last trust territory of UN, Palau, in 1994, this council suspended its operations. The Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC. The Economic and Social Council coordinates the economic, social, and environmental activities of the UN and provide help to the developing nations. It works under the General Assembly. It also looks after the work of specialized agencies which work as experts in different fields. These agencies work for the benefit of the member countries of UN. The member countries of the UN provide monetary support to these agencies. Let us read more about them. UNESCO. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, was created in the year 1946 to promote international collaboration in the fields of education, science and culture. The UNESCO has played a great role in educating people around the world. It works for the upliftment of the people of poor countries by spreading education and extending technical assistance wherever needed. It promotes international collaboration in the field of science and technology. It conserves architectural marvels across the world by marking them as World Heritage Sites. UNICEF, United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. UNICEF is an important agency that works towards the upliftment and holistic development of the underprivileged children across the world.
Anganwadi program across rural India is run by UNICEF.
It ensures access to food, health services and education to children. WHO, the World Health Organization. WHO helps to provide training to health workers. It works to create awareness about various diseases such as tuberculosis, malaria and AIDS. It also promotes research in medicine and works to control epidemics. FAO, the Food and Agricultural Organization. FAO works towards increasing food production all over the world by improving agriculture and develop agricultural infrastructure around the world. It also regulates access to food to every part of the world to manage food shortage, especially during war or famines. ILO, International Labour Organization. ILO aims to work for the better treatment of workers and protects their rights all over the world. It also conducts research on issues such as unemployment and migration. Achievements of UN. The UN successfully mediates between nations to prevent wars and conflicts by UN peace talks. It also controls the spread of arms around the world. The UN has been successful in helping developing countries to fight against poverty, diseases and illiteracy. It also has been successful in improving cultural cooperation among the nations. The UN has achieved remarkable success in providing relief to the refugees and the victims of natural calamities and human-caused disasters. In its continuous efforts to take the world away from the dangers of wars, UN has always promoted nuclear weapons disarmament. India and the UN. India became a member of the UN in the year 1945. It is one of its earliest members. By joining the UN, India is helping in maintaining peace the world. India has maintained a good relationship with most of its neighboring countries. Many Indian experts have served various agencies of the UN. Indian peacekeeping forces have also served with the UN in Sudan, Cyprus, Palestine and Sri Lanka. UN's contribution to India. The Food and Agricultural Organization (FAO) has helped in improving the farming methods by collaborating with Indian scientists. They developed high-yielding seeds, improved fertilizers and found modern and effective methods of farming. It has worked to change the sandy area of Rajasthan into a farming land. The World Health Organization has extended its cooperation for fighting against HIV's AIDS, eradication of polio. The World Bank supports development of basic infrastructure and the IMF provides financial support and facilitates currency exchange in India. India's contribution to UN. India has actively participated in the UN aid and peacekeeping missions in countries like Cyprus, Middle East and Sudan. India has supported the use of nuclear power for peaceful development process. India actively participates in the projects of UNESCO, ILO, WHO, and FAO. India opposed apartheid racial discrimination in South Africa. Use of uranium for the generation of electricity has been supported by India. United Nations Observance Days. Let us read about some important United Nations Observance Days celebrated all over the world. International Women's Day is celebrated on 8th of March every year to celebrate the achievements by women and to stand against all forms of exploitation. A purple ribbon is worn globally to mark this day. 5th of June is celebrated as World Environment Day to create general awareness about the deteriorating ecological condition and to encourage people to fight and strive for saving our planet Earth. World Health Day is celebrated on 7th of April every year to inspire people all over the world to adopt healthy and hygienic ways. 12th of June is celebrated as World Day Against Child Labor. This day aims to free the world from child labor and provide each child with their right to compulsory education and bright future. International Day of Girl Child is celebrated on the 11th of October to eradicate discrimination of any kind towards the girl child and change people's attitude towards them. It was celebrated for the first time in the year 2012. Recall: the UN was established in 1945 to help in maintaining world peace. The main organs of the UN are General Assembly, Security Council, Economic and Social Council, the International Court of Justice, and the Secretariat and the Trusteeship Council. The UN agencies use experts who work for the benefit of the member countries. India is an active member of the UN.